Hey guys, so today I'm going to be doing kind of like a read along thing. And I'm going to be reading a book called, I'm going to be doing this in parts. So I'm going to be reading a book called, it's from the Babysitters Club series. It's the first book. It's called Christie's Great Idea. I've already read it before, but I've just decided to read it again. So I'm probably going to only do the first chapter, or at least most of the first chapter, I guess. So let me just pull it out. Okay, so I bought it on iBooks, so I have the full version already. It's going to be the full thing, so let's get started. So the author is Anne M. Martin. Okay, and it's called Christie's Great Idea. So let's get started. There's 15 chapters. Yep. So let's get started. Okay, the Babysitters Club, I am proud to say, it was totally my idea, even though the four of us worked it out together. Us is Marianne Spear, Claudia Kishi, Stacy McGill, and me, Christy Thomas. I got the idea on the first Tuesday afternoon of 7th grade. It was a very hot day. It was so hot that in my unair-conditioned school, Stony Brook Middle School, the teachers had opened every single window and door and turned off all the lights. My hair stuck damply to the back of my neck, and I wished I had a rubber band so I could pull it into a long ponytail. Bees flew into the classroom and droned around our heads, and Mr. Redmond, our teacher, let us stop working to make fans out of construction paper. The fans didn't do much except keep the bees away, but it was nice to take up 10 minutes of social studies making them. Anyway, that stifling afternoon dragged on forever, and when the hands of the clock on the front wall of our classroom finally hit 2:42 and the bell rang, I leaped up out of my seat and shouted, "Hooray!" I was just so glad that it was time to get out of there. I like school and everything, but sometimes enough is enough. Mr. Redmond looked shocked. He was probably thinking I'd been so nice. He'd been so nice letting us make fans, and there I was, not appreciating it at all, just glad the day was over. I felt bad, but I couldn't help what I'd done. I'm like that. I think of something to say and I say it. I think of something to do and I do it. Mom calls it impulsive. Sometimes she calls it trouble. But she doesn't mean trouble, she means trouble. And I was in trouble then. I could sense it. I've been in enough trouble to know when it's coming. Mr. Redmond cleared his throat. He was trying to think of a way to punish me without humiliating me in front of the other kids. Things like that are important to him. "Christy," Mr. Redmond began, and then he changed his mind and started over. "Class," he said, "you have your homework assignments. You may go. Christy, I'd like to see you for a minute." While the rest of the kids gathered up their books and papers and left the room, talking and giggling, I made my way up to Mr. Redmond's desk. Before he could say a word, I began apologizing to him. Sometimes that helps. "Mr. Redmond," I said, "I'm really sorry. I didn't mean anything. I didn't mean I was glad school was over. I meant I was glad I could go home, because my house is air-conditioned." Mr. Redmond nodded. "But do you think, Christy, that it would be possible in the future for you to conduct yourself with a bit more decorum?" I wasn't sure of the exact meaning of decorum, but I had a pretty good idea it meant not spoiling Mr. Redmond's day by jumping up and shouting hooray when the bell rang. "Yes, sir," I said. "Sometimes being polite also helps." "Good," said Mr. Redmond. "But I want you to remember this incident, and the best way for us to remember things is to write them down. So tonight I would like you to write a 100-word essay on the importance of decorum in the classroom." Darn. I'll have to find out what decorum meant after all. "Yes, sir," I said again. I went back to my desk, gathered up my books very slowly, and then walked very slowly out of the classroom. I hoped Mr. Redmond was noticing the slowness, because I was betting it was an important part of decorum. I found Marianne Spear waiting for me outside the door to my classroom. She was leaning against the wall, biting her nails. Marianne is my best friend. We live next door to each other. We even look a little alike. We're both small for our age, and we both have brown hair that falls past our shoulders. But that's where the similarity ends, because I can't keep my mouth shut, and Marianne is very quiet and very shy. Luckily, that's only on the outside. The people who know her well, like Claudia and Stacy and me, get to see the inside of her, and the Marianne who's hiding in there is a lot of fun. "Hey," I greeted her. I pulled her hand out of her mouth and looked at her nails. "Marianne, how do you ever expect to be able to wear nail polish if you keep doing that?" "Oh, come on," she said with a sigh. "Nail polish? I'll be 75 before my father lets me wear it." Marianne's father's the only family she's got. Her mother is dead, and she has no brothers or sisters. Unfortunately, her father is pretty strict. My mother says it's just because Mr. Spear's nervous since Marianne is all he's got. You'd think, though, that he could let her wear her hair down instead of always in braids, or give her permission to ride her bike to the mall with Claudia and me once in a while. But no. At Mr. Spear's house, it's rules, rules, rules. It's a miracle that Marianne was even allowed to become a member of the babysitters club. We walked out of school, and suddenly I began running. I forgot all about decorum because I just remembered something else. "Oh my gosh," I cried. Marianne raced after me. "What is it?" she panted. "It's Tuesday," I called over my shoulder. "So, slow down, Christy. It's too hot to run." "I can't slow down. Tuesday is my afternoon to watch Dave and Michael. I'm supposed to beat him home, otherwise he gets home first and has to watch himself. Dave and Michael is my 6-year-old brother. My big brothers, Charlie and Sam, and I are each responsible for him one afternoon a week until Mom gets home from work. Kathy, this 15-year-old girl who lives a few blocks from us, watches him the other 2 afternoons. Kathy gets paid to watch him. Charlie and Sam and I don't. Marianne and I ran all the way home. We reached my front yard, sweaty and out of breath, and there was Dave and Michael sitting forlornly on the front steps, his dark curls falling limply across his forehead. He burst into tears as soon as he saw us. "What's wrong?" I asked. I sat down beside him and put my arm around his shoulders. "I'm locked out," he wailed. "What happened to your key?" David Michael shook his head. "I don't know." He wiped his eyes, hiccuping. "Well," I said, "it's all right. I got my own key out of my purse." Dave and Michael burst into fresh tears. "No, it's not. It's not at all. I couldn't get in and I have to go to the bathroom." I unlocked the door. When Dave and Michael gets like this, it's best just to sort of ignore his tears and pretend everything is fine. Marianne and I held the door open for him, and I ushered him into the bathroom. Our collie, Louie, tore outside as we went in. He was frantic to get outdoors after being locked in the house since breakfast time. "While you go to the bathroom," I told Dave and Michael, "I'm going to fix us some lemonade, okay?" Dave and Michael actually smiled. "Okay." I'm good with children. So is Marianne. Mom says so. Both of us get lots of afternoon and weekend babysitting jobs. In fact, I'd been offered a job for that afternoon, but I had to turn it down because of Dave and Michael. That reminded me. "Hey," I said to Marianne as I turned on the air conditioning. "Mrs. Newton asked me to babysit for Jamie this afternoon. Didn't she call you after she called me?" Marianne sat down at the kitchen table and watched me put lemonade mix in a big glass pitcher. She shook her head. "No, maybe she called Claudia. Claudia Kishi lives across the street from me. She and Marianne and I have lived on Bradford Court since we were born. We've grown up together, but somehow Claudia has never spent as much time with us as Marianne and I have spent with each other. For one thing, Claudia is really into art and always off at art classes, or else holed it up in her room, painting or drawing or reading mysteries. That's her other passion. She's much more grown up than Marianne and I. When we were little, Marianne and I were always playing school or dolls or dress up, but we practically had to brainwash Claudia to get her to join us. A lot of the time we just didn't bother, but Claude's always been good for a bike ride or going to the movies or the community pool. As far as I'm concerned, one of the best things about Claudia is that her father isn't Mr. Spear. Mr. Kishi can be strict about Claudia's schoolwork, but he doesn't faint if you suggest going downtown for a Coke or something. Over the summer, it had started to feel like Claudia was drifting apart from Marianne and me. Even though we were all going into 7th grade, Claudia suddenly seemed older. She started caring about boys and had spent more time than usual adding to her wardrobe and talking on the phone. We'd all made up at the end of summer, but it still felt like we were going in different directions sometimes. Dave and Michael came into the kitchen looking much cheerier. "Here you go," I said. I handed him a glass of lemonade as he sat next to Marianne. Charlie came in, tossing a football around. Sam got home a few minutes later, with Louis skidding along behind him. Charlie is 16 and Sam is 14. They both go to Stony Brook High. Sam's a freshman this year, and Charlie's a junior. "Hi, everybody." "Hi, Squirt," Charlie said to David Michael. "I am not a squirt," replied David Michael. Charlie thought he was so great because he just made the varsity team. You'd think he was the first person ever to play football for Stony Brook High. "We're going to play ball in the Hansons' backyard," Sam announced. Want to play, Christy?" I did, but David Michael wouldn't want to. He was too little. "I don't know. I thought Marianne and I would take David Michael to the brook. You want to go wading, David Michael?" I asked. He nodded happily. "See you guys later," I called as Sam and Charlie left the house, slamming the front door behind him. Marianne and I took David Michael and Louie to the brook. We watched David Michael wade and make sailboats and try to catch minnows. Louie ran around looking for squirrels. "I'd better go," Marianne said after an hour or so. "Dad will be home soon." "Yeah, Mom will be home soon too." "David Michael," I called. "Time to leave." He stood up reluctantly, and the three of us and Louie walked home together. When we reached our driveway, David Michael ran across the lawn, and Marianne whispered to me, 9 o'clock, okay?" I grinned. "Okay, Marianne and I have a secret code. Marianne made it up. We can signal each other with flashlights. If I look out my bedroom window, I can see right into hers. Lots of nights we talk to each other with flashlights, since Marianne isn't allowed on the phone after dinner, except for things like babysitting jobs or getting homework assignments." Mom came home a little while later. She had a pizza with her. My brothers and I stood around the kitchen, breathing in the smell of cheese and pepperoni. But Sam and Charlie looked skeptical. "I wonder what she wants," murmured Sam. "Yeah," said Charlie. "Mom only gets pizza when she has to ask us a favor." I decided not to beat around the bush. "How come you bought a pizza, Mom?" I asked. Charlie kicked my ankle, but I ignored him. "Come on, what do you have to ask us?" Mom grinned. She knew exactly what she was doing, and she knew that we knew it. "Oh, all right," she said. "Kathy called me at work to say she won't be able to watch David Michael tomorrow. I was wondering what you guys are." "Football practice," said Charlie promptly. "Math club," said Sam. "Sitting at the Newtons," I said. "Drat," said Mom. But we are sorry, added Sam. "I know you are." Then we dug into the pizza while Mom started making phone calls. She called Marianne. Marianne was sitting for the Pikes. She called Claudia. Claudia had an art class. She called 2 high school girls. They had cheerleading practice. Dave and Michael looked like he might cry. Finally, Mom called Mrs. Newton and asked if she would mind if I brought Dave and Michael with me when I sat for Jamie. Luckily, Mrs. Newton didn't mind. I chewed away at a gloppy mouthful of cheese and pepperoni and thought it was too bad that Mom's pizza had to get cold. While she made all those phone calls, I thought it was too bad that Dave and Michael had to sit there and feel like he was causing a lot of trouble just because he was only 6 years old and couldn't take care of himself yet. Then the idea of the Babysitters Club came to me and I almost choked. I could barely wait until 9 o'clock so I could signal the great idea to Marianne. So that's the end of chapter 1. And in the next video, I'm going to read chapter 2. So I really hope you guys enjoyed. So please like, comment, and subscribe. Bye guys.